Opening a bank account online is still not possible in most countries. You have to go into a branch in person. But that system is open to a lot more errors than using technology. Smartphones, for example, can read biometrics and verify that a person is who they say they are. Just one of the ways that the financial services industry could make much more use of technology. Today, we're joined by Francisco Fernandez, Chief Executive of the software and business process outsourcing company Avaloq. I'm Emma Howard. Welcome to the Business Debate. Francisco, welcome to the London Stock Exchange studios.
Hello Emma, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Good to have you. Tell me, first of all, about the last mile. I know it's an expression you often use in banking. Why is that last mile, that face-to-face interaction between customer and the bank, still seen as so old-fashioned?
First of all, let me explain the last mile. A process from the customer wish to make a banking transaction, to get a loan or to open an account, until it gets really done. It's a lengthy, very complex process, especially also thinking about regulation. And banks have been investing the last 3 decades in automizing that part of the value chain of the process within the bank. Now something has changed in the past decade, namely that with the smartphones that are actually not phones but wearable computers, have opened tons of opportunities and new options how to interact with your customer, not only face-to-face in a branch, but much more convenient using all kinds of digital channels. And that's the new transformational thing which is happening now. How do I recreate or reinvent the interaction between the financial service provider and their customer?
So it could be updated?
Yes, it needs to be.
It
updated.
needs to be desperately updated.
Yeah,
so internet banking is getting more sophisticated all the time. Would you say Avaloq is leading the way with that?
Definitely, because we started in the back, within the bank, within the process, and you need a sound basis to put digital channels on top of it. If you have inconsistent data within the bank and you give the end customer direct access to that data, he will find not what he wants to see. It's about real time, anytime, any place, in different jurisdictions. That needs a sound base, and we are perfect in doing that because we add the digital channels on such a sound base which we have.
Right, so that's what you're providing to the banks then, and how do you combat the banks' need to prove to their customers that they can be trusted, that the banks are offering a service that is going to avoid fraud as much as it can?
They say in research papers that banks tend to spend almost 50% of their IT spend into fraud prevention, compliance, legal stuff. And today, advisors should read 5,000 pages on paper to understand all these regulations. It's almost impossible to have that in mind, so we put that into software, into a software platform, helping the customer and his banker to be compliant with all these things.
So the digital innovation then is a top priority for many banks. I think there was a recent survey that said 85% of the banks are looking to invest in this area in the next 3 years. How do you expect the sector to develop, and you alongside it?
If you look at the FinTech scene, financial technology, and we are financial technology already since 25 years. And FinTech doesn't mean you need to be a startup. We have to reinvent that interaction. That's where the bank will differentiate. The bank in the back end, in their premises, they have to be efficient, but where they differentiate is how they interact and how they treat their customers over the more convenient digital channels, not forcing the customer to come into the branch.
So would that be a barrier then to transformation, as far as you're concerned? Do you deal with the banks? What's holding them back, do you think, their view of everything?
I think there are no barriers, only the barriers you have in your own mind and the culture of the banks and the heavy governance. So we are agile enough as a company to help the banks in this transformation and help them reinvent this so-called last mile. As you know, the banking services you expect not anymore at the bank premise, but you expect to get your payment, to get your loans. At the garage, when you buy a new car, you expect the loan or the leasing there. If you travel in a Uber car, the payment goes into the background, you get it in the car, so you don't have to go first to the bank or to the bank branch to get your financial services or needs fulfilled. It's going into the background as you are living your life and your lifestyle processes.
So the whole thing has become so much smoother, hasn't it? And it's going to get smoother, do you think? Do you think the banks are going to buy into this idea more and more?
They have to, because the customer is expecting a customer-centric model and not a bank or product-centric model. So the banks will have to integrate their services into the live portals or the live events of the customer and not forcing the customer to come to the bank. It's not a bank or product-centric model, but a customer-centric model. And the customer asks for that customer centricity and that convenience.
So what are you as a company offering then that is different, a unique selling point, if you like, to other companies that are trying to digitise and modernise that whole banking system?
We can reside on a sound base because we have been automizing banks inside the bank, so we have a deeper insight on financial services per se, but we also understand the technology. So we have created a platform inviting the whole world to collaborate and co-innovate with us, making use of our whole technology stack, but also leveraging the 4 trillion that are governed right now on our technology within banks. So what FinTech can, leverage 4 trillion money and 450 banks to start with. That's something which is unique to us. Plus, we understand and we're creative enough and agile enough to reinvent the last mile.
Francisco, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us today.
Thank you very much, Emma. It was a pleasure.
And join us next time when we'll be discussing the latest innovations in digital transformation.